Hello everyone, so today I'm going to be showing you how I made this cute little wristband armband thing. I don't know what to call it. It was a little DIY project that I did in about a day, I'd say. I started it last night and I finished it today as I'm actually recording this. And I decided I'd just share the process just as a way to document what I've done. And maybe inspire other people to start making their own things and upcycling old clothes and things like that they don't use. So yeah, to start off with, I sketched out a rough design. Now when I was sketching this, I already knew what materials I was going to use, so I had that in mind as I was sketching it, whereas sometimes when you're coming up with an idea you might not have it, or you haven't really looked at what you have beforehand, and you might end up searching for things that are similar, or you will change the design to suit whatever materials you have on you. So yeah, I had this little sort of bumpy overlap design in mind, and I wanted it to be like, I wanted to cover most of my forearm, whether it was about halfway or slightly over. I don't know, I like stuff like that. I think it's really cute, and really comfortable, and I wanted it to be able to like sort of get like unzipped. Like I don't have a zipper that goes all the way down, but I still wanted to use the zipper that I do have, so I drew it as if it did go all the way down, even though that would inevitably not be how it would be in the finished product. And then as I was sketching as well, as you can see, I've added little circles and spikes, because I have some beads and studs, and I love beads and studs so much on clothes, so I had to add them in the design as well. So I decided to go with spikes in the middle, studs next to it, and then on the far ends beads. And I didn't want to put too many on there of like overcrowding it, because as you'll see later on, the material that I'm using like as like the main part of the wristband, it has like these really nice details on it, and I didn't want to ruin that and like cover it up too much. And then I'm adding little frill bits from well, I mean, you'll see it in a second as well, from a little like plushy skirt, and it had like this nice lace on it, and I wanted to incorporate it somehow, and so I decided it would look really cool if I added it at the ends to sort of like give it a bit more character, I guess. But yeah, that's basically the design. There's not really much that I added after this. I was pretty happy with just this very rough, simple sketch. And so yeah, as you can see here, this is all the stuff that I pretty much used. There are some things there that I didn't end up using, but I'll explain that later on. That there is the plushie that I essentially took out all the stuffing and have been using. Yeah, and then the next part, I wanted to know like if I had enough of the tie, like the smaller bit of the tie, to do the amount of layers that I wanted to. And after I measured it, which I didn't seem to record it here. I think I did it off of the camera, and now I'm just wrapping it around my arm to get an idea of how much to cut off for each section. But yeah, basically before this I wrapped it around my arm to see how many layers I could do, and I had just enough. It goes a little bit over into the part that sort of widens, but I ended up fixing that later on. But yeah, so here I am just cutting up all of the pieces that I need, because I already had the zipper, and then I think later on I actually cut the skirt. I can't remember if I did it beforehand or not. But yeah, there's probably a much better way you can do this. Like, I was doing this very rough, just sort of like off the top of my head. I didn't really go in with a plan on how exactly I was going to do everything. I just sort of did it. But if you wanted to have, I guess, a more professional look to it, you would like properly measure your arm with like a measuring tape and then measure the fabric and iron it out and everything like that. But I honestly don't care if mine looks rough or not. I'm not really aiming for the professional look. It still turned out looking really nice anyway. And I mean, it's for myself. I'm not selling it, so I'm not too concerned with that sort of thing. And now what you can't see here is me laying out each of the layers to see if I had enough there or not, and also just to have a more like a visual of what it is going to look like roughly when it is sewn. I probably should have recorded that at a better angle, but I'm recording off of my phone and I don't have a stand or anything like that to record from a better angle. So I do apologize with the awkwardness and the mess in the background with my room. But I am, working off of not a lot at the moment. And now this next part, I believe, is when I start to lay out the beads and pin them with pins just to get an idea of how it's going to look. I do believe I show it at some point. I'm not too sure. Yeah, so here I am again. I'm laying it out again, but this time in how I wanted it to look when I finished sewing it. So what I did was I had a piece in the middle, and then everything went underneath it. So like from the side, so there's a piece at the very top, and the bits go under it. I don't know. I'm not explaining it very well, but you'll see later on when I'm sewing what I mean. But yeah, so then I lay out the studs and the beads of where I want them to go. So I have a look of the design in its physical form, and if there was anything I wanted to change, I would do so, which I do end up changing. A couple things, minor things. I mean, they were just extra details, which was what I mentioned before with the extra beads. I don't end up using them. So the big white beads that you will see in the part when I show all of them pinned down, I didn't use those. So here's it all pinned and stuff like that, and this was the design I ended up going with. And then when I was sewing it, I took apart, because I had it all actually pinned together, but I realized it would be much easier to sew it together if I do it one bit at a time. Otherwise it's too much to do at once, and I'm relearning the sewing machine at the moment, so I wasn't super confident in just doing it all in one go. So I did it bit by bit. Yeah, so this was the pinning of the zipper, just to get a rough idea of how it would look when it was finished. And I ended up sewing this off screen, and I realized that I had to do this next part by hand, this part of the zipper, because I realized that there was no way for me to really sew it with the machine without stitching it onto the other side of the cuff. So I did it by hand, which my hand sewing skills aren't the best, but you know, it's a learning process, and I still liked how it turned out in the end. And then this was it all stitched together, and it looks pretty good, and it fit very well as well. I was really happy with how it turned out, actually. And then for the fun part was adding all the studs, and it took me a little bit because I forgot how to put them through, and the first one I did, I technically did incorrectly, so I had to sort of later on go back and stitch up the hole that I had put in it, so that way it wouldn't fall out. And this is what it looked like with the spikes all done. It looked really cool. I was really happy. And as you can see, I didn't record the other part of the studs, but yeah, and then you'll see the beads added on at the end as well. I didn't use those big beads again, so ignore that. I did not include those or those extra white beads in between. And yeah, this was the finished piece. I was so happy and I was so excited. Like it, I just think it looks amazing, and I do think, you know, it's really cool. I want to make more things like this in the future. But yeah, so that was how I made this little cute thing. And I really hope to see more DIY stuff like this in the future from other people. I hope I inspired you a little bit, and I know I'm all over the place explaining everything. That I'm not good when it comes to explaining my process, so I hope the visuals at least helped in my explanation of things. I'm definitely going to look into getting a proper like phone stand or something to make it easier to record what I'm doing, so that way when I am unable to explain something, or if I feel like a visual is needed for whatever reason, I can just pop it on. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I'm planning on doing another arm cuff. Not the exact design, I want to keep everything as different as possible. But yeah, and just remember, you know, whenever you do DIYs, like, don't copy other people exactly, you know, always put your own touch on things. Like, you want it to be something that represents you, not just like a replica of what someone else has done, you know? But yeah, have fun, stay safe, bye!